On today's episode of Exploring Perspectives, we talk about why men wear kilts and how you work up the courage to wear it for the first time. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Exploring Perspectives. I'm Rocky.
Eric.
This is Eric.
Yo.
So today, on our episode, basically what we do in these episodes is we take a general idea, kind of a single question, and we just unpack it. We think about different things. We explore different topics.
Right.
So today, we're talking about why do guys start wearing kilts? And what was that first step each of us took in actually getting to wear a kilt and going out and, working up the courage to do it?
Kind of going back to basics.
Yeah.
Kind of, the foundation of all this that we've surrounded ourselves with, basically, this whole culture of
immersed.
Yeah, immerse ourselves in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So where would you like to begin? I mean, it seems logical to me to start with what are the basic reasons that immediately come to mind when somebody wants to do this.
Sure.
So
the 500-pound gorilla is heritage. That's the most obvious, most common reason. And what we're basing a lot of our thoughts, comments, and opinions on here are basically what we've noticed as trends from customers or feedback from customers. Yeah. We actually asked some questions about several of the people who are coming into the show today, just to basically kind of get a good sense of where different people came into it, try to find common threads and things and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and there are several different reasons, but there are definitely some commonalities between all of us who have gotten into this. Yeah. Whether you just did it or whether you've been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But the number one reason, obviously, is got to be heritage.
Yep.
Period.
Absolutely.
Hands down.
Absolutely.
I'd say probably 80%, 75-80% of our customers come at it from a heritage angle.
Yep.
Where they are of Scottish lineage or Irish lineage, or they were raised in Scotland and they're over here now, or those kind of things. But or they did a DNA test. Suddenly they found out they're Scottish, and now they're looking into their family history.
Right.
So that is probably the strongest single reason.
And I would see that even if they have other reasons that they cite, that's always in the background. Otherwise, at least from our perspective, they might be doing something like a utility kilt or a contemporary kilt. But, when you're talking about tartan, there's definitely an old world connection to it.
Fair.
One way or another, or at the very least, an old world style to it. So, absolutely, yeah. It's I think there are different levels that the heritage comes in. Some of it is, it's very much a personal interest. It's totally coming from inside. Basically, like you're saying, like you get the DNA test, or you're doing Ancestry.com, or you've heard the stories from Grandpa over the years, or something like that, or something just clicks in your head that you want to explore this as part of your personal background.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's an external thing too, right?
Yeah. There's other reasons why, or there's if you're exploring it from an angle of like joining a bagpipe band, then it's a uniform.
Yeah.
So you're coming into it from that angle, so it's just part of the process of becoming a bagpiper or a drummer in a bagpipe band is wearing a kilt.
Yeah, and that sense of heritage is being reinforced by your association with that particular group.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say, you could also say in that sense of like, my dad wore a kilt, so I'm going to wear one. I don't think that's as true in America as it might be in Scotland, but
it depends on when you get into it. Your dad may, if your dad, meaning someone in their 30s, 40s, 50s, is wearing a kilt, a lot of times they'll put their kid in a kilt at age 2 or at age 0.
Right,
Adam just had a child.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I put my kid in the kilt at day 1. So
right.
There's that angle to it, and that's a completely different entrance into wearing kilts, a first experience wearing kilts, if you will, or for that matter, wearing it in a bagpipe band is a much different experience if you're growing up with it than if you decide in your mid-20s or your mid-50s that, I want to wear a kilt. So it's a different dynamic, but it's something I want to explore.
Yeah, I think the little kids kind of have that advantage. I mean, it's there's a normality to it if you're raised with it. But for a lot of our customers, they're the first person in the family to explore doing it as a personal expression. So they're in uncharted waters in some ways, and they're takes a little more courage, I think you could say, perhaps.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I'm curious to see how Liam gets treated or acts or reacts when it clicks in his head that, oh, my dad wears a kilt that is completely different than everyone else's dad. So how is he going to handle that kind of thing?
Well, I can tell you, my kids, it's generally been positive for them growing up. There's some pride there, and also I'm kind of the cool dad for some of their friends. Is like,
fair.
Your dad's that guy who wears a kilt. That's so cool. Especially my daughter, who's now in junior high and high school. I get that. It's like I'm the cool dad apparently. So that's cool. I'm fine with that. But
I wish I was the cool dad.
Oh, you'll be the cool dad. That's okay. You gotta grow into it. As he grows up, you'll get cooler.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But so it's other kids I could see maybe having a weirder reaction from their peers and not knowing how to handle it. But so I think you need to project that it's a normal and honorable thing to your kids, and then they'll kind of internalize that. So it's not going to bother them as much if people say your dad's weird because he's wearing a skirt.
I saw something a meme the other day where I had to have a discussion with my 5-year-old about wearing pants in public. She won, and I had to stop wearing my kilt. Yeah,
oh.
That'll be an interesting dynamic right there, just in general.
This is true.
Yeah,
this is true.
So, what other groups, what other rationale, what other reasons go into why people would want to wear a kilt?
I think there's a lot.
I agree.
Going from more general downward a little bit. We talked about heritage, whether it's coming from being part of a group or it's an internal search kind of a thing. But I think that also the group part can be an identity thing. Basically, the bagpipe band is an easy example, but there are other groups that have like kilts and like alternative clothing in general, but especially kilts from our perspective, because it's part of their scene, it's part of their tribe, it's part of their
subculture,
their even the subculture. Yeah, it's basically it's part of their identifier within their group, and also to the outside world, to everybody outside. It's like we are the guys, who are doing this special thing.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So it kind of it's a tribe thing. There are other groups that have tribal uniforms in fashion, I suppose. Like let's all wear the same hat. But it's not nearly as much fun.
Yeah. Or it can be a uniform in a tribal way. Like if you're a rugby team and your shtick is not like the Scottish rugby team, like American rugby teams. Our shtick is for our college, we're all going to wear kilts. That's it. That could be a tribal thing for that particular group.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I think the shticky end of it is not as hardcore as the people who are really into it as a full-time identifier thing. You know what I mean?
Fair.
And I guess that to some extent that's what we're talking about too, is whether you are wearing a kilt a couple of times a year, a couple of times a month, or if you're a lifestyler.
Right.
I think everything we've talked about so far is valid for any one of those.
Yeah.
You can be passionate about your heritage and only put a kilt on once a year, or you can be really passionate about your heritage and put it on every day.
True.
So
true.
I think that's that's like how you decide to walk your walk.
Yeah, but it's the personality of the person, of the individual, that kind of leads that. If you're a little bit more reserved, maybe you only wear it for a little bit more like special occasions kind of thing. If you're more of a peacock, maybe you're just, I want to wear it because I know I'm going to get attention. I know I'm going to get compliments.
Oh yeah.
I know I'm going to get positive reinforcement.
Yeah, I think there's very definitely a peacock aspect, a dandyism aspect to it. Either you have a big ego, big personality, and you want to, really express it, or you're the opposite and you're using the kilt as a way to develop that self-esteem.
I wouldn't say a big ego.
That.
I mean,
I didn't mean that in a bad
an ego
way,
boost from it, or you have a big personality. You're a larger-than-life, fun-loving type guy, life of the party. That I agree with. But you definitely get that the reinforcement. You get the sense of wow, people like me when you're wearing it because you're going to get compliments. People are going to come out and talk to you, and it's kind of a dog chasing his tail kind of thing. Yeah. Reinforcement loop.
Yeah, I think there's the validation is definitely part of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Validation. Good word.
No matter where you're starting, whether you're already a very strong, confident person, or whether you're a mild person who's trying to break out of their shell. And I think some of the younger customers, you see this a lot too, like the kid who wants to do a kilt for a prom or something like that. It's like if you're awkward adolescent, I don't think you're as willing to take the risk. But when you start to reach that point where you want to really develop as a person, then you're more likely to, you know what I mean?
Kind of shine individually versus blend in.
Now that's another reason some people get into it is rebellion.
Agreed.
Again, I think some of that is our younger customers, or it's our older customers who have decided they just don't give a darn anymore.
Yeah.
They don't care what people think, and they like it for other reasons, so they've decided that that's their personal rebellion to go for what they want.
Agreed.
And enjoy what they want to enjoy. So, rebellion, heritage, personal expression, for sure. Those are all I think some of the big emotional reasons. There's the practicality. There's a big movement out there, guys who talk about the trouser tyrants or trouser tyranny, right?
Yeah, tyranny of your pants tubes and your leg tubes.
Like
leg prisons.
Yeah, what is it? Leg torture tubes.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, so I don't. Would you say that that's a larger or a smaller theme with the customers we've encountered over the years?
The comfort and the practicality of kilts.
Yeah.
I'll say both. I'll say because we're coming at it from a traditional angle. You brought up something that made me kind of think. Because we are not utility-kilts or, like utility kilts, as it were. We don't offer those. We're not necessarily seeing that. There may be a larger percent of utility kilts customers that do come at it strictly from a comfort practicality, and honestly, that's what they want, and it has nothing to do with tribalism or rebellion or anything like that. It's just, it's cooler than pants in the summer. That being said, for us, what I would say is it seems like that's an afterthought rationale, where you recognize the comfort after you've worn it, or you recognize, but you can't know how comfortable it is before you wear it.
Yeah.
Unless you're, running around your house in dresses, and you're like, oh wow, maybe I should just get a kilt instead. But it's we've had a lot, and Lucas and Adam can testify to this too, that there's lots of times where a customer comes into the shop and they're in there to buy a kilt for a special occasion, like a wedding or something, and then they're like, oh wow, this really feels comfortable, I really like this, oh this is great. Why did they talk like Bert?
Because that's just the voice that came out. I could try to do Kermit instead if you want.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Don't do Kermit.
Okay, I won't do Kermit. Don't want to do Kermit. So yeah, I think it's always there. It's a theme. It's another. Individualism and comfort are both constants to some extent. You know what I mean?
Right.
They'd have to be until the entire country is wearing kilts. In which case, it becomes just the average thing. But you have to be an individual, and the comfort, is one of your practical underpinnings for that. You know what I mean?
I'm just imagining Mac's face when I tell him, "Oh, you thought you were busy for St. Patrick's Day season? The entire country is going to start wearing kilts now. So
someday,
here's your cot.
Someday, yeah, we'll get there.
Absolutely.
And from on the practicality comfort level, I'm totally there.
Yeah.
As soon as the weather starts getting warmer, it's my lightweight kilts all the time.
5-yarders and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that's definitely part of it.
All right. So what kind of I'm going to throw this out to the audience as well.
Okay.
What groups can you guys think of that wear kilts? Whether that's like groups of like AOH divisions, Ancient Order, Hibernians, and that kind of thing, or subculture type groups like punk rockers or whatever. So load the comments in. Tell us what groups you can think of. We'll come back to you in a few minutes. Eric and I are going to kind of go over a couple.
Yeah. And did anybody have any comments so far? Or?
Not very many comments.
Okay.
Just folks chatting about waiting on kilts, wearing kilts, and mostly agreeing with what you're saying.
Very good.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Kind of figured we were among friends with this topic. So
yes.
Yeah, not a problem. When you mentioned AOH, I think there are a lot of groups which are founded on the heritage aspect.
Yes.
We touched on the bagpipe bands because that's an obvious one, but AOH divisions, the Masons.
Yep.
The Masons are one I would say.
Yep.
Obviously, St. Andrew's Society. Let me pronounce
Yep.
that better. St. Andrew's Society.
Yep.
Yeah, take my time. Use my words.
The clan societies in the U.S.
Yep. Yep.
Friendly Sons of St. Patrick is another one.
True. True. Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of heritage type groups, Caledonian societies. So there's a lot of heritage type groups, and they're coming to it with an angle of, this is to express my heritage. This is to get closer to the heritage. This is for their love of Scotland and of Ireland and that kind of thing.
Yep. And so it serves the purpose of it's a identifier and an emotional boost, and it's also the uniform.
Yes.
It works on several levels for them, I think.
Yeah. It's not necessarily a strict written in law uniform, but so many of them wear it. It's kind of a de facto uniform. Like, you don't have to own a kilt to be in the St. Andrews Society, but the vast majority of them do. And several presidents have said, like, we want to get more members in kilts. We want everyone to be in kilts. So it feeds into the whole thing. The more guys are in kilts, the more guys are in tartan, the more you kind of want to be, and the more closer you feel to it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I agree. There's other aspects where the heritage comes in too. I think a lot of our customers, even if they're just an individual, they have an interest in the heritage. But if you want to extrapolate that further, you could say they have an interest in history and in Celtic culture. And where I see that is where a lot of time we have customers who are a crossover between having a personal interest in the history and maybe something like reenacting.
Yeah.
I'm biased in that I tend to spot that quickly because I have done it as a hobby. And Mac, our production manager, also is a reenactor. But you see these guys who are into, well, heck, even like the Ren Fair people. But basically, they have they're interested in history, and in the case of reenactors, they'll go so far as to acting
really
it out on
it.
the weekends. But you're interested in it enough, you're passionate about it enough that you kind of want to carry that through to your daily life too.
I would also say you spend so much money on this stuff that, especially reenactors, and not that Ren Fair people are really reenactors, but it's the people that spend the money on it don't just want to save it for the Ren Fair weekend or for reenacting events. They kind of incorporate some of the garb, some of the clothes into their normal daily wear.
Yeah.
Just because you can.
Strictly
Hats
speaking, your let's say 18th century, kit is not something you could wear day to day, but a modern kilt, which is emblematic of what you're portraying, you could.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you might put on all your hockey gear to go play a game on the weekend,
but you wear a jersey
or a t-shirt or a hat during a work day. It's that same kind of thing. You're carrying it with you, and kilts allow you to basically carry that passion with you and express it all the time if you want to.
It's a cultural identifier of, hey, I think this thing is cool, whether that's your Flyers jersey, whether that's your Eagles hat, whether that's your tartan kilt. This is the thing I think is cool, and you're just it's an outward expression of the stuff that you like.
Yeah. I think for lack of a better term, it's kind of a warm fuzzy. It's like that's where your heart is. That's where you feel comfortable. So you're kind of wearing it and bringing it into your daily life for that reason too. Obviously, I'm talking about more lifestyler people than people who are putting it on once a year for burn supper. Yeah. But I think it's romanticism. I think there's a strong element of romanticism in a lot of our customers who wear kilts. That basically it's you are fond of, passionate about, or even pine for a different place or a different time, and wearing a kilt and other highland wear stuff helps you kind of bring that home a little bit, so you don't feel separated from it. You know what I mean? Am I making sense?
No, I'd agree with that.
You could also say we're all fusty old fogies too.
True.
Some of us are fogies. Some of us are rebels.
Not.
Yeah. Hopefully but I think that makes sense. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does.
I know. I guess it resonates with me because that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
I'm very definitely a history nut and very much a romantic. I would be happy to be a time traveler and go back to 18th century Scotland or 19th century London or any number of time periods I'm interested in. So in that sense, some of this clothing is, I don't want to say it's a toy, but it is a way of, like I said,
feeling part of that and bringing it out.
Yeah, like actually enjoying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
more than just in books and movies and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So what other kind of groups? I'd say music. A lot of
Yeah.
I'd see a lot of guys with
Yeah.
Celtic punk thing.
Absolutely.
With Dropkick Murphys and Flogging Mollies and bands like that.
Mm-hmm.
You see a lot of kilts at those kind of shows.
Yep.
And they're not necessarily. I think there's definitely an angle of Celticness to them. A lot of people come to watch Dropkick Murphys because they love Irish music and they love Scottish music and that
Mm-hmm.
kind of stuff. But then there's also the people who just like rock and roll and like punk rock music. So they may want to wear it, or they kind of dig it when they go to the show, or they just want to wear something different. The dude, Zach Wilde, I think it is, from Ozzy Osbourne, or Black Label Society, I think he's in now. It was
Okay.
Ozzy Osbourne's guitarist. He
Okay.
wears a utility kilt.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Ozzy isn't exactly, Celtic punk music.
But that's a utility kilt, not a traditional kilt.
yes,
I think
but
but there's commonalities and subtle differences there.
agreed. And I'm bringing it under the big kilt umbrella.
Okay.
Not just
Cool.
traditional, the big umbrella.
Excuse me, good stuff.
Yeah.
Too much time writing about kilts. Yeah, no, I think the rebellion thing comes in there in a big way.
Yeah.
And the romanticism, I'll say again. And if you're going to expand it to not just traditional kilts, then heck yeah. I mean, like in the metal scene, in the goth scene, in the punk scene, in the pagan scene. I mean, all these different subcultures, they love kilts for, I think, similar reasons. It's ancient and modern at the same time. You know what I mean?
And it's lowbrow and highbrow at the same time.
Yeah.
Like punk rock, having, in the 70s, basically claiming the Royal Stuart tartan, for, it was worn by the monarchy, and they just said, no, it's ours now too. And,
Right.
Ripping it up, putting zippers on it, wearing it, bondage pants and all kinds of different stuff. Basically thumbing their nose at the monarchy, but at the same time, it's a lowbrow ish. I guess you can call it lowbrow without being insulting, because I love punk anyway.
Earthy? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not highbrow culture. It's it's down here. It's the common man type stuff. So it works on multiple levels, and they did it specifically for a rebellion aspect more than anything else.
I think it's there's also and I'm sure we'll wind up touching on this later. But there's also the warrior aesthetic is there. There's an aggro, an aggressive side to kilts that appeals to all these subcultures.
Yeah.
Even the fusty old historians like yours truly. I'm thinking about Jacobites. Charging down a hill sometimes.
Yeah.
But the punks and the metalheads and everybody. There's just kind of a power.
It's the
power to
aggro
a
thing.
kilt. Yeah.
It's the confidence in it. It's all of
Absolutely.
it. It's the
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the virility of it.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying to think of other groups of customers or types of customers. Lucas.
Yeah, we had a couple mentioned here.
Sure.
One was a group of kilted window cleaners, which I know we've seen some contractors.
It's not really a group,
It's
but
more. I was thinking more along the lines of like the rugby team kind of thing.
that's a
Right.
marketing
That's their-
thing too.
Yeah, that's
branding
more of a
thing.
marketing
Yeah,
thing.
Yeah.
that's like an identifier kind of thing.
Yeah.
Another gent here mentioned golfers wearing some kilts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've
Yeah.
definitely had people come into the store and say, "Hey, we're going to a tournament this weekend or later this year. Can we get just a casual kilt to wear to make it very easy and super practical for what they're wearing?"
And that's a perfect example of that hybrid between the practical benefits and the heritage benefit. Because golf is the Scottish sport, and kilts are a beautiful expression of Scottishness and fit perfectly with the game in that sense, and they're also super comfortable for when you're out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's actually a really good example.
And and even those guys key into the warrior aspect too, because they want to do something to
Right.
make that other team or whoever they're playing against say, "Hey, what's
War-
going
warrior
on with
golfers?
those guys?" Exactly.
Psychological
The
warfare.
hills are there to run down.
This tee is ours.
So we had a group, a delegate from a homebrew club that came in today too. They just all really like
Yeah.
wearing
Yeah.
kilts, and they go to this con every year where it's a whole bunch of homebrew groups, and they're the only team there that wears kilts. So
Yeah.
another,
There's a lot of homebrewers. There's
Yeah, another.
homebrew tartans and whatnot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think beer is manly and old world. Kilts are manly and old world. They kind of naturally fit. We totally just glossed over just the pure simple fun aspect too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just a matter of the fact that it's just fun.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of another large group of customers, gay dudes.
Yep.
Gay dudes
Yep.
love wearing kilts.
Yep.
We have a lot of gay customers, and it's just fun, and it's really you're just kind of the outward confidence and everything that you have in it. It just kind of fits there, and we have a lot of hikers.
Yeah.
A lot of outdoor sports type guys, mud runs, that kind of thing.
Yep. Yep.
So it's a lot of just aggressive, raw kind of
I think
fun stuff.
Let's see. So for the gay customers I've met, it's the individualism and the alternative kind of expression. You want to do something that's different.
Yep.
Something that's a little bit rebellious.
Artsy-ish for the nature, the patterns, that kind of thing.
Yeah, especially weddings, weddings. And then hikers, it's that earthiness, primitiveness, and also the practicality. I was thinking about the pagans are that way too. Basically, that whole back to nature thing. Kilts, like I've said in previous videos, kilts just make you feel more connected to your environment. I love hiking in a kilt because I just the airflow and the swish when you're walking and everything, you just feel physically more connected. And I think a lot of people feel that. And with the runners, I think it's purely the practicality, and the fun. Yeah, it's fun and practicality. So I think there's always a couple of different factors in everybody's brain. You know what I mean? A couple of different things that they just blend together. And what the proportion is going to depend on the individual.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But neat.
But it's the romanticism and the confidence and the individualism are kind of the themes that run through no matter whether it's heritage, no matter whether it's punk rock thing. Those are the kind of the themes that we've noticed in all of our customers are people that are either very strong individuals or aspire to be strong individuals, and this is a vehicle to do that.
And the sex appeal.
Oh yeah,
I think there's definitely
there's no sexier men than us.
But that's the bald thing.
That's true. The bald thing, it's like it's to the nth degree because of the bald.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we got double whammy going on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's stop there.
Speaks to confidence. Hey, I've been approached by more out of my league women in a kilt than I ever have in pants.
Can't disagree.
It's just the nature of the confidence, and there is something, the intangible sex appeal to it. It's there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Just remember to use your power for good. So.
Fair enough.
But that's I think we're naturally kind of dovetailing now into what it's like if you're doing this for the first time. We've talked about some of the reasons back here in the back of your brain that you might want to, your motivations. But
how do you get over it?
How do you get from dream to reality?
We kind of touched on this early. How you get from dream to reality. If you're in a bagpipe band, if you're a 12-year-old boy who comes into USA Kilts, getting off of his chanter, getting his first set of bagpipes.
Probably one of Lucas's students. Lucas is over here nodding. He's like,
no,
yeah.
I'm talking about Lucas.
Oh, you're talking about... Oh,
yes.
You're talking about Lucas.
Lucas came to us when he was 12 years old, we've known him for that long. And he literally came in and said, with his mom and dad, and said, hey, my parents said that I can get my first kilt once I reach, get my bagpipes. So I'm finally on my bagpipes. Now it's time for my kilt. So for Lucas, it was more of a trophy. And it was like something to aspire to get. And for the first time wearing it, he's obviously exhibiting pride because I earned this. This is something that I worked for. And he was also in a safe environment, so to speak, of bagpipers and other drummers. Right. And he's in a group. It's not him out there by himself in solo competitions, I'm assuming, on his very first outing in a kilt. Mm-hmm. That being said, there's kind of a weird bell curve where if you're brought up with it, I'm kind of getting into the mindset a little bit. Okay. If you're brought up with it and you're 2 years old, 3 years old, your dad puts you in a kilt, you don't really have an option. You're wearing the kilt.
True.
So, and people all think how cute you are, how great it is, that kind of thing. So you just kind of get used to it.
Or you might rebel against it.
Later in life. You won't rebel.
Okay.
A 3-year-old rebels.
No.
Sit in the corner. Time out.
Right.
It's end of the rebellion. No cookies. So damn it, they starved us out. They took my cookies, but they can't have Mississippi cup. Anyway, sorry, long day. So there's that end of it where you really can't say no, and you're generally fine with whatever your parents tell you to do.
Right.
And then there's the early teenage awkward years where you just want to fit in.
Right.
For the majority of people, there's always going to be, people on the far ends of the spectrum who don't want to fit in or who, for whatever reason. But for the majority of people in those teenage years, it would be more of a challenge to get the guts up to wear a kilt versus in your 20s, 30s, 50s, you're more who you are. You're more comfortable in yourself and your own skin, and you have less of a give-a-sh about what people think about you. So you kind of come into your own. So different parts of your life, you may enter into it differently.
So I wonder how many people we have who come into it from a nostalgia standpoint, like they were in a band or knew that somebody in the family wore kilts and when they were little, and then they come back in their 20s or 30s or 40s, or when they have kids of their own, and they're nostalgic, and they want, I want to get a kilt on because Dad wore a kilt, or because I miss those days when I was in the band, or something like that. I mean,
and
I would say that I think that does happen. I think there is a nostalgia thing and a legacy thing.
If it's a nostalgia thing for you were already in the band, you would have already worn a kilt. So I'm maybe misunderstanding.
I'm saying getting back into it.
Okay.
Like I'm imagining kids who were involved in something as a kid with their family. They're not anymore, and then they come back to it as an individual wanting to get back into it. I mean, how often do we have people who, I'm not to dwell on bagpipers all the time, but how often do you see people who are older who are getting back into piping after
taking the hiatus?
I was just on the phone with somebody this morning who was talking about that. She had played, I guess, in high school, and had stepped away from it for a while and was coming back and just asking a couple of basic questions to get started again. Yeah, I think that is something that occurs, not a super high percentage, but it's still there. People who want to cling to that part of their past. It makes you feel youthful. I'm sure I'll feel that way.
I think
when I'm 30 years older.
I'll
still be wearing kilts, but
right. Yeah, that's kind of a given here, but I think there's a nostalgia sometimes. I think there's a midlife crisis, which Lucas just made me think of. That sometimes guys get into it because it's
a mid-20s crisis.
Yeah, it's when they're doing their rebellion. And it's their midlife crisis is their rebellion against, it's kind of like the guy who retires and throwing off the necktie and burning it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that. So I was like, I'm tired of doing what everybody tells me to do. I'm going to live my life the way I want from now on.
I'm mad as hell, and I can't. It's not going to anymore.
I'm mad as hell. I'm going to put a kilt on from now on. Or there's the legacy thing. People get more interested in their heritage, I think,
later in life
when they have kids.
Yeah,
certainly. I know it was for me.
Yeah, or when their parents start getting older.
Yep.
You start asking more and more questions because you come to a realization that mom and dad aren't going to be around forever.
Yeah,
and you want to get that so that you can pass it on.
Yep. And kilts are kind of a physical
manifestation
of that. Manifestation. Yeah. Thank you. Good word. Yeah.
Yeah. So, guys, load in. What was your way to get into kilting? How did you climb that little mental curb? How did you get over it? How did you decide that, all right, today's the day? How did you guys come into it? Load it in the comments, and Eric and I are going to kind of chat about that a little bit.
Yeah.
So, let's start with you. How did you get into it? What was your first experience wearing a kilt of Eric?
Okay.
Of the Eric.
You have to try to do the memory banks here, and you're like, well, I've had an interest in history. Like I said, my heritage interest came later. But I was interested in kilts before that from more the rebellion thing. And I was a convert to traditional kilts from the utility kilt world. I started off with an original, morphed, augmented maybe. I'm now super powered. Basically, I do both kinds of kilts. But but I started with I had an original model black utility kilt, from the utility kilt company in Seattle, and I got into it because I had seen the click that made me start thinking about it was I actually saw a documentary clip about a world's hardest race, or some kind of like a race challenge reality show.
Right.
And the team from Seattle wore utility kilts. And so these guys running down the beach building a raft so they can cross the river or whatever, and they're all wearing these black utility kilts. And I'm like, that's freaking awesome. That is metal. And that started it for me. It's like, well, yeah, why not do the individual thing, and express myself, because I've always been kind of rebellious. And so I got into it that way. And it was definitely a confidence journey for me. It was definitely a confidence builder.
But that first time.
The very first time that resulted from all that, and the investment, of course, was I play it low-key. Some guys like to go into the deep end of the pool. Some guys like to dip their toe in, and for me it was the toe. I just went shopping with my wife. And specifically, we went to a Mennonite bulk food dry goods store.
That's awesome.
Yes, so I'm out there in Pennsylvania Dutch land,
Mennonite, Pennsylvania,
in my utility kilt and my combat boots, going to buy like bulk spices and licorice and grain and stuff. And there are these people getting out of their buggies and seeing me like
bugging out.
Nice kilt, nice cut there, English. It's not quite that, but it was. I had to pick a moment, and the easiest thing for me was just to pick a random one. It's just like, today's going to be the day. Whatever happens today, I'm going to be in a kilt. Bam, go. It was just, that was how I did it. It was basically just said,
flip the switch.
Yeah.
All in.
Yeah. Yeah. And as it happened, it was not a day when we were going any place special. It was just, that's what we were doing. So I think you may have told your story before, but feel free to
well, it's
share.
The getting into it aspect. I'm just going to go straight into the why when I wore it the first time.
I had a shaggy dog moment. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. The first time I wore it, I actually bought 2 kilts, cheap ones, and told my mom, I was like, yeah, I bought some kilts, and she thought I was nuts and told me I wasted my money. What are you doing? You're German. Why didn't you buy lederhosen? It's but I got the kilts, and then I had the moment of, okay, they've arrived. Now what?
Now what?
And
right.
I kind of I didn't know. Literally, I never thought past the purchasing aspect of it.
Okay.
They arrived, and I was just like, oh crap! Now I got to do something with these things. And I made it into my own personal crisis of, I'm gonna do this.
Okay.
I kind of psyched myself up to a degree.
Okay.
And I remember my buddy Scott, who's a big gym rat dude, used to work out at the same Gold's Gym that I used to work out at. And I was talking to him, and I told him I got a kilt. And he was laughing at me, just like, what are you going to do with a kilt? Where are you going to wear it? And I was like, I don't know. I could wear it to the store. I can wear it to the gym, wear it wherever.
Sure.
And he said, I'll give you $50 if you wear it to the gym.
$50?
Done. So that was my incentive, was, you're not going to do it. Yes, I am. I'll give you $50 to do it. And I said, okay, fine. So I figured it half paid for one of my kilts.
I've never been paid for wearing a kilt.
Was I sponsored?
You sort of were. I don't know.
But anyway,
it worked.
Yeah. So it was, for me, I would have done it anyway.
Right,
but how I felt, I don't want to say comfortable, but what kind of got me over the mental hurdle was just somebody challenging me on it and calling, whether it's, through money, via a bet, whether there was money involved at all, but somebody calling my honor and not honor, but my, being into question of, you don't got the guts.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Sure. And the best way to get me to do something is to tell me I won't do it.
There you go.
Outside of eating spicy foods and, here, eat mud. No.
Yeah, I think that, but I think that says something is like, you gotta know yourself.
Yeah.
You gotta know what works for you, works for your personality. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. Now, if we were, a lot of our customers are a little bit more mild-mannered, or they're coming at it from a heritage aspect, but they're a little bit more apprehensive about getting into it.
Especially if they're older, I think. Because there are more controls on what men wore when they were growing up versus now.
Yes, and or depending on how conservative they are in their dress, and in their, are they more of a reserved person, or are they just the fun, rowdy uncle? Are they drunk uncle from Saturday Night Live? Are they just outgoing and fun and sure, why not throw it on? Let's go.
Right.
Let's put on a toga for a toga party. Just up for whatever.
Right.
Or are they more coming at it from a heritage aspect and more reserved? If they're more reserved in it, then generally what we see people do is kind of, or we recommend, is kind of like baby steps. So go to a Celtic festival or an event where there's going to be dozens, if not hundreds, if not thousands of other people in kilts. So that way you're not the guy in the kilt. You're obviously there for that event. And then that way it's a little bit easier to just say, okay, I'm still blending in by wearing a kilt today.
Yeah, I could see that. For me, as a person who's swum through many subcultures, I like to tell the younger people, go to a con, or a concert. Like we're talking about the music scenes. A concert, a lot of time you'll see a lot of people in kilts, the kind of concerts I'm talking about, and you're expected to be out there to party and doing something a little rad and a little weird, and it's fun. And cons, it's a very supportive environment. I mean, cons in the sense of conventions, especially science fiction conventions and things like that, where you're kind of a geeky crowd, and people like to dress up for them, and it's a very supportive environment. And the thing that has in common with what you're talking about with the festival is that there's another interest which is drawing you all together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the kilts are there, but the main reason we're all here at this festival is for the Celtic culture music, or the whole reason we're at this convention is for the science fiction. You know what I mean? So you already have a built-in connection to the people around you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or Burning Man or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of kilts at Burning Man.
And sometimes the kilt actually becomes a conversation starter.
Oh, absolutely.
And you've already got a connection to the ladies because you're there for a similar interest. But the kilt is a nice, you can
cherry on the sundae, as it were.
Yeah. And sometimes it's actually nice for them, since I'm kind of diving into the dating thing a little bit. But it's a hook for somebody else to break the ice with you. Not you breaking the ice with them, but it gives them like, wow, what am I going to say to this guy? It's like, oh, he's wearing a kilt. I could compliment him on his kilt.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is by far the best conversation starter that I've ever worn.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, people will come up to you as opposed to vice versa. You don't have to go up to other people.
True.
They're going to approach you. There's a lot of times you will get free beer for wearing a kilt.
Yep.
So that's an added bonus. But yeah.
Hopefully it's a good beer.
Absolutely.
And not bad scotch.
Lucas, do we have any other quick ones from the audience?
Yes. We have a number of folks saying, absolutely. Had the heritage, had the family history. That's what brought me to it.
Cool.
Some other folks following your path, Eric, having done the utility kilt thing and then hopping over to try the tartan kilt for something more formal. And let me find, I had a great comment here. Where did he say?
Are there any themes about how other people take that first step? Meaning, did they just flip the switch and go? Or was it a bet? Or was it... how did it happen? Or something else.
Yeah, not any direct experiences or phrases like that, but I wanted to share what William said. He said he came to kilts for the heritage and fashion, and he stayed for the tartan and pleat swish. So,
and the wonderful programming that he sees on YouTube and on Facebook at USA Kilts.
Exactly. So yeah, and a couple more just rolled in here too. He was wearing one. Yeah, this gentleman here, Ben, he got to wear one because his company said he could wear shorts, so he decided to opt for a kilt.
Very good.
Give it a go.
We had one person who chimed in on the Facebook group saying that he's a teacher and he used an International Day event at his school as his lever, as his fulcrum, his excuse to do it, and that way you have that background of being able to say, if somebody actually challenges you on it, which I don't think really happens too often, but if somebody does. They're not just saying
it's International Day.
Yeah, I got an excuse. It's like, I'm dressed like this because this is the country of my origin, or this is the country I want to most visit, as opposed to just having to say, well, I like them. I think some people are afraid of getting caught flat-footed without an answer.
The one I almost hesitate to bring up because I'm not a big fan of doing it, but I'll bring it up anyway. Is Halloween. a kilt is not a costume, but if in the context of using any excuse to wear it for the first time.
Yeah.
So Halloween would be, as much as I hate it because a kilt is not a costume.
I get you.
That being said, it's an excuse where some guys who don't necessarily know better or don't think they're being insulting, will just say, okay, well, I can wear it because I can just say it's my costume. It's just a reason to wear it, a way to get over the hurdle.
Mm-hmm. You could say that something like St. Patrick's Day is good for that too.
Absolutely.
Like, he's kilted up because it's St. Patrick's Day, woo! And I mean, if you're not an outgoing personality or used to doing odd public performance stuff in some capacity, then having that background definitely helps. Or like I was saying with the events, having what is going to be a supportive environment is good. Or we talk about going to the pub as a great chance. In that case, you can take your supportive group with you.
Yeah.
Like you take your buddies
with
you to the pub, whether they're kilted up or not. You've got your posse.
Safety in numbers.
Yeah, you got your wingmen.
Yeah.
So
and you can take ribbing from them. You can't take ribbing from random other people.
Yeah. So that's I guess that would be the thing. If you're nervous about it, either find a venue or an activity where you'll be in a supportive environment, or find a way to take your support with you for the first time.
Yeah. It boils down to the individual person and what they are comfortable with, and how much internal guts and chutzpah, as it were, they have, or how much they need that supplemented. And just because you need it supplemented doesn't make you worse or better or anything like that. It's just it's a different angle to get to the same goal. Yeah. And that's the point, is that you still ultimately, the goal is to wear a kilt and have fun.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
So however you get there, whether it's by yourself going to the store, or whether it's going to the gym, or whether it's, being in a huge group for a St. Patrick's Day parade, it really boils down to that, and making sure that the environment that you're in and the people that are around you and that are kind of doing this are acting as good stewards and good mentors for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Or at least neutral.
Yeah.
Some people are just like, oh, he's in a kilt. Like if you're dressed up in full regalia for a wedding, it's just like, oh, he's in a kilt because of special occasion. But or like we go to festivals sometimes, and we'll very gently try and encourage or correct people who we see doing something not quite right, and you can tell it's their first time, and you can tell they're a little nervous, or they're trying too hard, or any number of different things. They're making a minor mistake or something.
The pleats are in the back, or it's a guy wearing a sash with his kilt or something. Pleats in the front. I'm used to saying pleats go in the back, but or a guy wearing a sash with a kilt where it's kind of a women's thing. So gently kind of pointing those things out. The onus, frankly, is on us and all of us, and you guys as well, as people who've actually worn kilts before, to be good stewards of this and be good mentors in this. I agree. And for the most part, I would say that our customers, and I'm not trying to pat you guys on the back.
You can pat them on the back.
I will pat them on the back.
They gave us money. Totally pat them on the back.
Our customers generally come to this with the same kind of nice, welcoming environment, and we don't have a lot. Luckily, knock on wood, we don't have like a lot of jerk customers. It's not it's a good environment. We have really cool customers that are very supporting of this, and I don't know if that's because they come to us with that, or they're taking our cue from what we're trying to put out there through videos and through whatever else. But whatever it is, I like what we're doing, and I like what's happening.
Yeah, so, I think sometimes kilts just do bring. This is pie in the sky, maybe, or like rainbowy, but I think kilts bring out nicer qualities in people in some ways. It's like you've talked about how, like, if you're in a bad mood, you're not going to wear your kilt to the grocery store. Yeah. Because you just want people to leave you alone. Yeah. You just want to go slop in there in your sweats or whatever and get your milk and get out. But if you're in a kilt, you are prepared to be engaged and engaging. You know what I mean? Yeah. And be more lively, full of life. I think kilts make people nicer. Kilt people are good people. Yes.
We are better than other people. People in pants aren't really good people. They're just pretending. People in kilts.
Yep.
They're all right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, we do need to be. I think mentorship is important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, what are our conclusions here? What do we want to draw to a close and conclude from all this?
Well, we talked about it allows you to express yourself as an individual, right?
Agreed.
There's a myriad number of reasons that you can get into it, but they do tend to dovetail together. You know, rebellion as well as heritage, or heritage as well as music, or creativity.
Creativity,
as well
fun,
as
outward going.
timelessness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of traits that kind of run through the majority of the customers.
Yep.
You know, concentric circle wise, I'd say the majority of our customers possess 80% of the same kind of DNA, so to speak, personality wise. Yeah, moxie, that kind of thing. Absolutely.
Love that word. So yeah, confidence, sexiness. I guess what we're really saying in general is that kilts have, they have two things. They have an intrinsic power that other clothing doesn't have. You know,
Agreed.
They're like a power thing, not a power tie, but you know, power kilt, much better. And they have universal appeal.
Yeah,
it's not hard for a wide variety of guys to find a reason to enjoy kilts. So I think we're kind of lucky that we live in a time where it's easier to do.
I agree.
You know,
and for the reason or the vehicle through which you take that first step, two things I'd say is it's kind of like skydiving. You're up in the plane, the door's open. At some point, you gotta jump, and that's kind of what it boils down to with the kilt as well. It's a light switch. It's a jump out of the airplane. The chute's gonna open. You're gonna land on the ground safely, but it's scary to take that first step.
can be.
Yeah.
And skydiving in a kilt, that would be a double whammy. First time skydiving, first time wearing a kilt. No, Lucas. No. How about
That can be
kilted?
awkward for the people that come behind you in the skydiving.
Yeah, I think it depends on the angles. Definitely depends on the angles.
True. The angle of the dangle? No.
How about bagpiping and skydiving
In
and
a kilt.
kilted?
So there was a video circulating for a while of somebody who
Like
was
bungee
doing
jumping in a kilt.
jumping.
Yeah,
playing
I've seen that
pipes.
one.
Yeah,
I've
so
seen that one.
I'm assuming most people have seen that. At
This is
Yeah.
this is next level. We're going skydiving in kilts. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So, I think that's where we end this. Here's where we go. Here's my challenge. If you are watching this video and you have not worn a kilt, here's my challenge to you personally, Bob. Get a kilt, book a skydiving lesson, skydiving in a kilt. There you go.
Yeah.
That's where I'm ending.
Yeah.
All right, boys and girls. Until next time, Slanjava.
Sanjava.